All right, welcome everybody to the Dev Talk Q&A. We have a bunch of new stuff for you today. We did not announce everything yesterday. There's quite a list, and before we get into that, I do want to introduce the panelists. I've got a big group of senior designers with me today. My name is Kevin Martins. I'm the lead designer. All these guys are working on these features and many others that you see today. So I have Wyatt Chang.
Hello.
Mr. Joe Shelley, Travis Day, and Adam Poole. Thank you for that warm welcome. Thank you all for being here. This was a really exciting Blizzcon for us, not just because of the Necromancer, but also because of the 20th anniversary. So yesterday, of course, you're probably familiar with some of these announcements, but we did talk about the Darkening of Tristram event, where we've largely recreated Diablo 1 in the Diablo 3 engine, and that comes on PTR next week for everyone to play. The Armory, which is a full 5 equipment, skill, everything loadouts for each of your characters, where with one button press you can change your gems, your legendary gems, your skills, your passives, your Kanai cube powers, and of course all of your equipment, no matter where that equipment is. That's probably like a small feature that, at least for me, has a huge impact that saves me a lot of time. And the Rise of the Necromancer pack, which is not just the Necromancer with all of the VO for male and female and all the movies all the way from Acts 1 through 5. It also comes with 2 character slots, 2 stash tabs, a Necromancer pet, and a slew of other cosmetics that we'll be unveiling over the next little while next year. So today, we have a bunch of things. And first up, this one was important to me. We've wanted to do this for quite a while, and the team pulled together, and we are bringing Seasons to consoles. Xbox One and PS4 players, welcome aboard. So when this comes out next year, I want to do a brief summary of the feature and go through what it looks like on console. And I understand that many of you are familiar with Seasons from the PC build, so I've put some of the new cosmetic items that you can unlock in later seasons in here as sort of a sneak peek, so you have something to look forward to until we move on to the new features that are for all of our systems. So let's get started. When you join a season, this is a reset of your character and your account for everybody at one time on Seasons, just like it is on PC. As a community, everyone starts from scratch and starts creating seasonal characters at the same time. And so multiplayer is often a big part of this. When you've created your seasonal hero, you choose which class you want, and you choose whether you're going to play normal or hardcore. I definitely recommend playing hardcore. About half of the seasons that I play on PC, I play hardcore because even if I'm playing an identical build to what I normally do, I get all cagey and scared, and I start using my defensive abilities and my movements, and it feels totally different even with identical characters. So this is a great place to try out hardcore without risking one of your characters. Once you've created your character, you start participating in the season journey, and this is a grand tour of Diablo 3. You accomplish different goals, and you do it at higher and higher levels. This is the example of finishing a Nephilim Rift on expert difficulty, and it gets more difficult. And the reason you do this is we have a bunch of guaranteed rewards. So there's 2 categories. We've got cosmetic rewards, like pets, portrait frames, and wings. PC players, these are the Seraphim wings from an upcoming season. So this will be the first time you'll see those. And I won't say which season they're coming in, but you'll find out soon. And of course, you get full 6-piece armor sets for all of the classes. And these rotate. So from season to season, even if you chose to play the same character class, you could get different sets every season until you've got them all. All right, so the way the rewards work is as you start finishing chapters, you start getting pieces of these cosmetic rewards and your full 6-piece set. When that happens, it looks like this. And when you go onto your console UI, you have these cosmetic pickers where you can start unlocking these portrait frames and using them. On console, portrait frames have not been very in your face, and so we're bringing them to the forefront, and they're going to be on the screen all the time and appear more often because you can upgrade your portrait frames. Here's an example of choosing a portrait frame and activating it. So this also comes with conquests and leaderboards. So seasons have a competitive aspect. Those of you who like to race against your friends or against players all over the world, you can race in these conquests. And these are very different than the things on the season journey. This particular example is called Speed Racer. And in this, you play the campaign, Acts 1 through 5, but you play it as fast as you can. You ignore as much as you can. You only click where you need to click. You maximize your movement speed. You only kill what you need to kill. It's a completely different challenge from how you normally play the story mode. And you try to be the first person to do that, either, again, within your friends list or on the global leaderboards. So at the end of the season, your character rejoins your main account, and you can take all of the goodies with you and all of your experience. Your Paragon experience, for example, gets rolled into your main account, and if you got a lot of it, all of your tunes on your main account start pinging up in experience levels, and you can go spend all those points. You can choose what items you want to take with you and those that you want to junk or don't need, and everything, all those rewards, those 6-piece sets, etc., come back. And all of the cosmetics you've unlocked will be usable, of course, by any of your characters. All right, so that is the first feature we're talking about today. Seasons on console are coming in 2017 for PS4 and Xbox One. And I would like to pass this to Wyatt to unveil more new features.
Hey, folks. I know you probably want to know a lot more about the big features that are coming, but sometimes the major changes to the game aren't just the big ones, and we've got that coming, like the Necromancer and the anniversary event, but sometimes the biggest changes are actually the little tiny details. Like, last Blizzcon, we were talking about how the Death's Breath was, was yellow before, and then we were changing it to teal, and then when you go home and you play, you're like, oh, I'm so glad that you guys changed it from yellow to teal. The game's so much better now. Those little changes can make a huge difference. And we've got more little changes like that coming up for you. Let's take a look at one of them now. One of the requests that we got. I wish each and every crafting material would be treated exactly like blood shards and gold. Account-wide counters that require no stashing and no inventory management, asks Deus. All right, so your stash looks like this right now, right? You've got your yellow mats, your blue, you've got your Kanai cube materials from all the bounties that you've run. Starting in a future patch, it's going to look like this. A dedicated spot for all your crafting materials. Now, one of the things that's important to us is that the items still feel real and tangible. We've talked about this before. This is why instead of doing auto pickup for a lot of these materials, we instead added vacuum pickup so that you still see the item on the ground, you click, and you pick it up. And we wanted to reinforce that. So although we're having a dedicated storage area for this, we're adding counters with better floating text to come up and tell you what you're picking up with icons embedded right in place. This is going to apply to the gems that you pick up, blood shards, all of these types of things. While we were implementing this, we also had a challenge, but it was also an opportunity. What do we do with Kanai's cube? Well, one of the requests that we often get is if there was just a single button to fill the cube up with all the materials for the recipe. Now that we have dedicated storage for your crafting materials, it made a lot of sense to have your Kanai cube recipe fill itself with a single click of a button. What else have you been asking for? Like I said, it's the little things that make a big difference. Well, if the Transmogrify artisan had a dye kiosk, she could have all the dyes so you don't have to keep going from different vendors hoping they have the color that you're looking for. It's a request from Worldbreaker, and not just Worldbreaker, but many of you have asked for this. Well, Worldbreaker, we're going to break your world.
Wyatt Chang, ladies and gentlemen, at the Diablo Comedy Club.
Okay, so some of you will remember the Clown Satyr from 2 BlizzCons ago. It's our friend Clown Satyr, and he's back. And he wants to customize how he looks. Well, in a future patch, the Mystic is going to have an extra tab right next to Transmogrify. Now, the Clown Satyr is going to have an even easier time looking super styling. You can change your chess piece, you can transmogrify it to the way you want, switch over a tab, change it to the color that you want. It's all there. All right, and I know this is a big one too. Please allow us to level our legendary gems faster. Okay, now, this was a tough one for the development team because greater rifts and leveling the legendary gems is a core part of the end game for Diablo 3. That's a core activity. We wanted to be really careful about speeding it up by too much. But we had an alternate goal that we were also looking at. In particular, we wanted to find sort of a way to incentivize people to stay alive. Right now, we have softcore, we have the normal game, and we have hardcore. And in hardcore, it almost feels like death has an enormous penalty. But in normal play, it almost feels like death sometimes doesn't matter enough. So what we're doing is starting in a future patch really soon, you're going to get another bonus roll on your legendary gems if you complete the Greater Rift without dying. So it looks like this. You get 3 rolls to upgrade if you complete the Rift, a 4th if you empower the Rift, and if you complete it without dying, a 5th. And as you can tell, if you're hardcore, then you're going to get that 5th roll every time, unless you die, in which case you don't care anyway. All right. So that's great. Those are some small changes that make a big difference. I'd like to pass it off now to Joe Shelley. He's going to cover some of the changes coming to Adventure Mode.
All right. Thanks, Wyatt. Let's talk about Adventure Mode. We've got new zones for you. And they're going to be in Act 2, up in the north of Chaldeum. The first zone we want to announce today is the Shrouded Moors. This is a rain-swept, windy, desolate place. People have come here, they've tried to settle. You can see the wall that's crumbled. Someone had a house there once. It's gone. Monsters, demons. It's a harsh place. And there are ancient monuments with runes on them from people who settled here, moved on. We've got some of the concept art from the Shrouded Moors here. These are some trees that have been blown over by the wind because it's so unforgiving. And another shot of those monoliths with the runes. Our concept artists do all of these pieces so that we can come up with the way that the zone is going to look. This is a preview of the zone right now. We've got, it's in development, and you can see it's very rocky. There are a lot of plateaus, grass. It's a dark and misty area. The second zone that we're doing is the Temple of the Firstborn. This is one of the oldest places in Sanctuary. In fact, it's the place where Inarius and Lilith came. And the place where humanity was first set foot upon Sanctuary. This concept piece features some monks with fire, and we're going to have some really nefarious stuff in here. It's got this Lovecraftian vibe, which is very different from many of our other zones. And this zone is deep, deep underground. There's a relief here of a guy who's in the stained glass there having, really, it's not going to be a good day for him, it looks like. And this is a paint over. We do these to get an idea of what the zone is going to look like when it's finished, so that we can see in very great detail, and we can plan how are we going to fill it with monsters, what is the light going to look like. Pay attention especially to the darkness and the shadows and the way that the light spills across. It's very high contrast. Now, you may have seen a sneak peek of this zone if you got a chance to play the demo today on the floor, and if you haven't, there's still time. Just don't leave now. But this is the first part of the zone that we have finished. We're working on more of it. And again, notice the shadow and light interplay there. This is a very dark place. So I told you we've got 2 new zones. But we're also, our artists are always trying to find new ways to put Sanctuary together. And let me just show you the realms of fate here. You can see, of course, we're in West March, right? We're going to go through this gate. Everything seems normal. There's some weird effect, but it seems pretty normal, right? And now we're in the Pandemonium Fortress. So we're trying this idea of having this sort of portal world where the zones can connect in unexpected ways, and you can move from one to the next just as you're walking through. This last one here, it transitions into this pile of bodies from West March, which is one of my favorite places. All right. So what would new zones be without new monsters, right? These are some of the concept pieces that we're working on for the zones. We've got a lot of demons for the temple, and we've got some other guys for the Shrouded Moors. The guy on the left here is like a crow monster. I can see him sitting up on one of those walls in the moors. And Soul Reaper guy on the right seems like a perfect fit for the Temple of the Firstborn, right? And this one I really wanted to show you guys because it's a great example of how we approach bringing monsters into the world. So, of course, this is a shot from the Temple of the Firstborn. And one of our artists had painted on these little centipedes. And this is to show how the centipedes could crawl down the walls. They could crawl across these chains. How could they emerge and jump out and scare you? Now, those are concept pieces, but we've also got one of the monsters that you'll be fighting modeled out. You can see on the left and the concept on the right. This is the shepherd. And we've actually got him in game. He's very tentacly. He's going to be a ranged caster that's bringing up spirit energy and channeling it at you. You'll see these guys near the bottom of the temple. All right. So those are the zone changes that are coming. But some of you are probably thinking, all right. I love the new zones. New zones are great. New monsters are great. This all sounds great. But what about greater rifts? What do you have for us? Or to put it another way, I do grift. And we have some awesome stuff for you. We have a brand new way to spawn monsters in greater rifts. No more huge empty areas with no monsters where you're vaulting through. We took a density-first approach. We look at the amount of playable space in a tile set, and we look at the amount of XP from monsters that feels good in that space, and then we fill it that way. So every floor can be a great floor. This is an example of 242, right? You can see ice caves here. The same place in 243. So that's great. But we've also changed, we had a rule for greater rifts where when you went down a floor, we tried to keep the tile set the same. Because we felt like, well, it preserves continuity, right? You're in the cathedral, you go down, you're in a cathedral, it makes sense. But what we realized is what's really important in greater rifts is that every time you go down a floor, it has the potential to be awesome, right? It has the potential to be a great floor, awesome, filled with awesome monsters. So that's gone. You'll see new floor every time. There's an equal chance to get a new floor every time. And monster populations can now spawn on any floor. So even floors that had monster populations that maybe your class had more trouble with, you'll be able to see different monster populations now. Also, the size of each floor is more consistent. And finally, entrances are now safe. I have to say, as a demon hunter, I've gone down the floor. There's 3 elite packs. They jump on me. I run back up the floor. Go up and down, up and down. That won't happen anymore. OK, so that's great. That's a bunch of great stuff. We've also got, though, let's see, have any of you fought, let's see, Lakuni, you know? They're leaping at you, or maybe the winged assassins, and you're shooting them, but they just somehow, they make it that last step and punch you. Well, now, you can kill them all in midair. And this extends to basically all the leaping monsters. So you've got your West March Brutes. You've got even the Burrowers from Act 1. Basically, if it's jumping through the air at you, you can take it out. Also, have you ever had the experience where you're in a grift and there are a bunch of invisible snake men around you? And you're like, what? Just attack me. What are you doing? Come on. Well, they're going to jump out and attack you now. This also applies to burrowing monsters. So, I mean, this is mostly about Great Earths, but you probably had that bounty situation where there's that one rockworm somewhere. You just, where is he? You just wander around. He's going to jump out, and when he does, he's got little floor cracks, so you can see where he's going to pop out. We've also made some changes to some of the affixes that we've continued to iterate on. We've never been completely happy with how reflex damage works. So now when you shoot a monster that has reflex damage active, it'll fire a projectile back at you. This means that you have a chance to dodge out of the way of the projectile. And of course, it still maintains the same damage type that you shot like you're used to. And finally, if you've ever had that last shielding monster, and he's somehow he's still shielded, he's the only guy left, well, that'll now cancel instantly, so you can kill him as soon as the other monsters are dead. I like that one. That's a small change. You remember what Wyatt said about small changes, though. It can be good. All right, so Travis is going to talk to you about some of the new legendary items.
Thanks, Joe. So what would a new Diablo patch be without a bunch of cool new items defined? So in patch 2.4.3, we've got some new things coming for you. It's always been one of our goals that every legendary in the game does something really cool. And we've got some items that aren't there yet. So I'm going to show you what we did with a few of those. Some of you might remember Saffron's Wrap. Not the best item ever. But I remember playing when the game first came out in Classic. I had these awesome whirlwind builds where I'd whirlwind through like giant packs of mobs and hammer overpower. And we thought, you know, it'd be really cool if we brought overpower kind of back up in there, sort of gave the whirlwind set a little boost. So Saffron's Wrap now, whenever you use overpower, the next overpower is going to do bonus damage based on the number of enemies you hit. So we wanted it to be powerful, but have some cool gameplay, where you're kind of waiting until you're in the middle of the pack of mobs, and then you hit it, and then your next one's like 2,000% better. So hopefully this will help with that. Up next, some of you may recognize Man-Old Heal as the thing you instantly disenchant when Kadala gives it to you. We wanted to take that and turn it into a really cool lightning wizard build. We always loved the idea of like lightning wizards shooting electricity out of their hands, arcing around the screen. So we thought, oh, all right, well, what if paralysis just did a ton of damage? So now when you get Man-Old Heal and you're spamming your electrocute or assortment of electric spells, it'll do tons of damage and just murder everything around you. Next is Faithful Memory. We really loved the sword. It's been around forever. Also, not the best sword in the game. But now, if you get this, anytime you falling sword into the pack of monsters, your hammers are going to do tons of bonus damage. So you want to like aim for really huge densities and then start spamming out hammers and watching everything die. Rabid Strike. The fist weapon that does some poison damage. Okay, we got rid of that because that was lame. Instead, we thought, all right, Epiphany's really cool, and I love when you teleport around, like spending, and it's really awesome. What if we made a clone of you that duplicates everything you do while you're in Epiphany? So now Rabid Strike will make a duplicate of you that's also going to teleport around, mirroring all of the spenders that you use. For Demon Hunters, so grenades, traps, gadgets have always been part of their kit that we really liked, and we wanted to give them something to sort of play that up. So Hellcat Waistguard will now allow your grenades to bounce additional times, up to, I don't remember, 5 extra. I can't remember how high that goes. But each time it bounces, it'll deal more and more bonus damage. So the final bounce will deal up to 800% bonus damage. So you can really get a grenade build going on. You're welcome. Finally, the Barber. So this one, we just wanted to redefine like how people use Spirit Barrage. It's always been kind of this really cool-looking single-target nuke. You're channeling your lasers at people. We thought, all right, that's pretty cool. What if instead you're just charging all of that energy into one guy, and then when you stop channeling it, it explodes. So this will change Spirit Barrage from a single-target nuke to instead a channeled skill that stores up all the damage. And when you stop channeling, it detonates for all of that damage and kills everything around. This one's a ton of fun to play with. So that's what we've got to show for items today. I want to kick it over to Adam Poole, who's going to talk to you about one of our awesome new features, Challenge Rifts.
Wow. Hi, Blizzcon. I am so excited to be here. I get a chance to represent the Diablo 3 team and show you guys a new way to play Diablo 3. What I wanted to say real quick about this mode, though, is it's only really possible in a game like Diablo 3 and because of the community. This feature would not exist without you guys, so let's dive in and find out why. So challenge rifts, what are these? Challenge rifts are a race for your fastest time in a greater rift. And I know you're saying that's what I do anyways. So why are these different? The difference is everyone's on a level playing field. Everyone has the same hero, same build, same dungeon layout, same monsters and pylons. So we're all on the same level, and we're seeing how fast we can beat this rift. Now, this is where you guys get involved, because we actually get this build, this layout from you guys, from a greater rift run in the community. And we're also going to be updating this thing frequently, because people are running rifts all the time, so there's always some interesting things to see. The other great thing about it is it's going to be on both PC and console. So let's dive into a few more details on challenge rifts. So what challenge rifts really do is let you discover things that you might not have seen before in Diablo. There's so much rich content. First of all, you're able to jump right into these. There's no barrier for entry. You can just dive in and see what they're like. You really get to see something like, oh, I never played Health Tooth Witch Doctor, or I want to see what a Delcyr's Wizard's like. And these things are changing out. And you get to just, what we say is like, you get to test drive some of these builds and see if there's something in there. Maybe you'll see some of those legendaries that Travis was talking about too. It also gives you a chance to optimize. So you get to learn the layout. And this picture right here is actually a Photoshop that a programmer on our team, Ken Lamb, made. And this thing was like gold. So if you can see, though, he marked where the pylons are, where the elites are, and this layout, and you can see where the dead ends are. And this thing is like burned into our memories as we played this internally on the team. It really made an improvement on all of our times. You can also be more effective with the build. So you really get to analyze this puzzle of what skills should I really be using, how should I be using these against elites, and how do I increase my times with this build. And of course, you get to compete. This is a picture of one of our gameplay programmers, Kevin Hassett, and showing his awesome trophy that he got for winning one of the challenges we had internally. We had a lot of fun going back and forth, running over to somebody's desk, like, I beat you by 4 seconds. Can you be better than that? And then suddenly you're just like spending like hours playing this thing, and you got to get back to work. So yeah, you get to compete with your friends on the leaderboards. And for the really dedicated players, which I'm so excited to see, I want to see what the top of those leaderboards really are, and like the really interesting ways that people optimize and discover the little tricks that go along with a build and a layout. And of course, there's going to be rewards. There's a picture of brownies here because, again, internally, we had our producer, Tiffany Watt, had made brownies for people that placed in the top 10 on our team. And they were amazing brownies, and they motivated people a whole lot. But for you, we are definitely going to give you a reward. If you beat the original runner's time, we'll be giving you some bounty bags. We'll be working out the details on the PTR. But we'll make sure that you get to contribute to your main character as you're playing this mode. So I want to show you some quick videos of a challenge rift. This is basically the hub where you get to test out the build. So you can see this is like a Helltooth Angry Chicken build, and just learning what the skills are and how they really work. And then he dives right into the rift. And you can see early on, you're just trying to figure out what these skills are and which ones you should be using. And like, okay, I get a little bit of a speed boost there. And it goes down the right down here on this path. And if you remember from that map, this is a dead end. So you get there and you're like, oh, okay, all right, well, I got to remember that next time. And then he comes back around. So this is the second run where he learns, like, oh, God, you got to be a chicken, like, all the time when you're playing this build. So he runs past that dead end, and he gets into Elite Pack and pops that Elite Pack right away. And then this is painful, but he missed the purple orb, and then he kept going and ran across the speed pylon, which is crazy fast, and you just lose all control. This was so much fun to play for our team. So the other thing I wanted to show you is, of course, it has to have multiplayer. It's Diablo. So everyone gets to dive into that same Rift layout, but they're all using the same build. So we get to learn it together, and that was a fun experience itself. But the really interesting discovery we had was the team strategies that come out of this of like, okay, you run ahead to the next level, and you get the pylon, and I'm going to go right. So you can even see these characters split up. And you go and kill all the monsters, and then like, all right, well, we need to gather back together when the boss comes so we can really take him out. And it was a lot of fun multiplayer. So that is Challenge Rifts. And I'm going to head it back to Kevin Martins for a summary.
Thank you, Adam. So we are coming to the end of our formal announcements for BlizzCon. That plus whatever you can make Wyatt trick him into leaking for the future. I want to talk about when all this stuff is coming and how we're going to sort it out. So you probably heard this yesterday, but patch 243 includes the Darkening of Tristram event, and it goes on PTR next week. So if you can't wait to find all the Easter eggs, that's a good time to get in there and help us test it and figure out what's happening beneath that cathedral. But it also includes a bunch of things from today. All those new legendaries Travis showed, the long list of Rift improvements, as well as the bonus roll for legendary gems for adventure mode, and that dies on the Mystics UI. And then over the course of 2017, a bunch of the other stuff starts appearing. And so it'll sort of come on board as it's ready. It's likely going to come out in more than one patch. The Armory feature with all of the 5 loadouts that you have, the Rise of the Necromancer pack, which you should definitely go and play, and you can now see, of course, the Temple of the Firstborn sneak peek at the end of that rift, if you can get there. By the way, who got to play the Necromancer so far? It's not everybody. Booth's right there. Seasons, of course, coming to consoles. Very excited about that. Sorry it took so long. Crafting materials storage UI, which got pretty big applause, I saw. That's great. The new zones, the Shrouded Moors, the Temple of the Firstborn. We'll see what happens with the sneak peek of the stitched together zones in that dream-like land that Joe showed as well. And of course, challenge rifts, where you can make baked goods, challenge your friends, kick their asses, and then eat all those baked goods yourself with our blessing. That's our job. And that'll be coming out over the course of 2017. So we're going to have a question and answer period, but I did want to take a moment. I said this yesterday, but I so mean it, and I really want to say it again. It has been 20 years that most of us have been together, either playing this game or making this game or making this game and playing this game. And for you guys to be here with us through this process, through all the crazy highs and lows of Diablo 3, thank you so much. We are not the Diablo 3 team. We are a small portion of that. There was a lot of people back at the office, many of whom are at the booth, who worked their butts off for you guys because they love this game and they love this community. We're paying attention, we are energized and engaged, and we hope that you guys stay that way too, and join us playing all of these new features in Sanctuary next year. Thank you again, and once more, 20 more years. All right, so we're going to set up some questions here on the left side. Just want to step forward a little.
How's it going, guys? I had a quick question. Well, it's more of a request. I love what you guys have done with the end game for Diablo. You guys, everything's fast-paced, speed. You go really, really fast. There was one little tiny aspect of the previous games, Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, that I miss, which is, and I think I'm alone here, is toggling, walk or run. Are you guys ever going to add that, or is everything just super, super fast?
No. No, I don't know. I remember toggling walk and run, and it was only because my stamina bar was empty. And then I would just be spamming it like, come on, just refill, for God's sake. We've never talked about toggle walk run. I mean, is it because you want to RP walk and look stylish?
I guess so. Like I said, I'm alone here. No, everyone loves to go super fast.
But you'll walk during the anniversary dungeon. That's pretty awesome.
That is
true. It definitely has that
There you
nostalgic
go.
feel
Perfect.
for sure.
Okay, thank you.
I totally
It's safe to
forgot
say
that.
it's not at the absolute top of the list, but thank you for the suggestion.
Hi, big fan. I was wanting to know, since all 7 of the Greater Evers are in the Black Soulstone, that constitutes that Tathamet should be out and about and wreaking havoc. So where's Tathamet, or are you going to do anything with Tathamet?
Okay, so that logic doesn't automatically follow, by the way. Diablo became the primeval, which is the combination of all of them. Diablo, of course, has always been conniving, and he's not always agreed with all of his siblings, and he's taken over at that point. And Malthael did something with that in that final fight, and who knows what's happening next. Obviously, we're not going to spoil anything at this point, I'm afraid. But yeah, it's that logic doesn't automatically follow, but maybe it's that. So other than no spoilers, yeah, maybe. Maybe not.
Super committal.
You heard it here first.
Maybe-ish.
Maybe.
Hey guys, what's going on? Love the Necromancer. Played the demo and whatnot. 2 questions, one kind of shorter. Are you willing to let us know what the Necromancer only weapons and armor are going to be? And 2, in the demo and a lot of the concept art, you showed the Necromancer with a comma and a bone shield. Can you let us know what kind of weapons you're designing the class to use? Since in Diablo 2 it used a lot of two-handed weapons, some daggers, the offhands, which witch doctors kind of use at this point. So, what's going on with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you've played through the demo, hopefully you all enjoyed it. The class weapon for the Necromancer currently, we're planning on doing scythes, comma as you called it. So the scythe, the bone shield really was because when we started working on the build for Blizzcon, we had no idea what we were going to put in his offhand, but we were like, I don't know, that shield looks really cool, so just put that on him and we'll figure this out. But the current talks are that he'll have like a main hand, offhand sort of combination. We're still figuring it out. We've got lots of really awesome concept of like glowing fiery skulls or like goblets of blood. So we're still kind of feeling out what the offhand is, but it'll function very similar to like the Wizard or the Witch Doctor in that they have a class main hand and offhand specific for them.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Hey guys, first, Great changes on the way. Thank you very much for addressing certain issues. Secondly, were there any plans of making more lore-based dungeons or events in-game, like Sigurd from Bear's Hill, or let's say a armor dungeon for Bartok the Bloody?
So the question is, are we going to add some dungeons that are more story-based, basically, given the examples you had? Well, in a way. So the new zones that we have, one is a dungeon and one is an exterior. Shrouded Moors is outside. The Temple of the Firstborn is inside. And similar to what we did with Ruins of Sescheron, there's going to be a bunch of lore moments in there. So in particular, Temple of the Firstborn is sort of a history lesson of like the prehistory of Diablo. So that's going to have a bunch of story elements in it. But the fact that, you know, most of us at this point largely play adventure mode except for specific times when we go back to visit campaign, we felt right now that we wanted to try to get the best of both worlds and have that story be there, but be able to play it non-linearly. So, you know, unlike campaign where it has a distinct beginning, middle, and end, we want to have a story that the more you play it in adventure mode, the more you can explore. So, you know, when that hits PTR, those two new zones, let us know what you think of that approach. And of course, how you felt it went in Ruins of Sescheron.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, it's an honor. My question is, is there anything in the future and plans to do more CGI type movies or for the storyline? Maybe like Overwatch, something like that. But as I know some people are nostalgic for the way the drawings are, but I don't know if you guys ever thought of that.
So we probably wouldn't tease anything like that in advance. Were we working on it? We did have a little Necromancer trailer from yesterday. I don't know if you happened to see that one with some CGI in it. So we did do that. As far as like more story elements, we are often looking for ways to add more lore to the world. Like there's the world of Sanctuary and all those continents have a lot more lore associated with it. And there's quite a depth of stuff that hasn't always hit you. Even if you've read the Book of Cain and the Book of Tyrael, there's other information there. So whether it be movies or books or in-game lore books or character conversations, we are trying to put more story in on a pretty regular basis. But we don't have a particular thing to say about any movies right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, so season play for consoles, awesome, but I hate when I get into a game and there's a guy, the 420 Blaze It, Paragon 10,000, 3-socket, 40k DPS weapon. How are you going to combat them being #1 on the leaderboards, because that's kind of unfair?
Yeah, there's I can't go into a ton of detail about some of the things that our team is doing, that our engineers are doing. I can say that Seasons on Console is a PS4 and Xbox One feature only. That's actually a really big deal. A lot of the paragons and hacked items were brought over from prior. So since everyone's making a new character and it's a next-gen consoles only, our engineers are going to do their best. Beyond that, I can't promise anything more.
Because there's a thing too is with, I'm kind of curious though, is how, because you're saying it's with the PS3, PS4, but the some of the PS4 items, because it's kind of hidden on the patches that are on PC. So some is like the new cosmetic items. There's a lot of that stuff where those are showing up on PS4 online. So they're not pulling them from PS3. So somehow people are actually modifying PS4 save files. So you know. But.
Yeah, I mean I can't talk more about like the details of the specifics of the hacks. Yeah, it's not something that we really talk about publicly. Sorry.
Like online play, will there be a specific like online only version of it, or is it online and offline? Because I know it's kind of right now, that was the difficulty of it.
Well, when we're getting closer to launch, we will have more details about that. Partly the feature is still in development, and so that's part of why we can't talk about it. And as far as the hack thing, we basically have a policy of not saying what we're doing about hacking, except to say that we do have a security team who works on that stuff. And so that's why Wyatt gives that answer as well.
On Diablo 1, when you kill Diablo, the loot drops, but you get a cutscene. Do I get my loot 20 years later?
That's, I honestly didn't even remember that, but
I don't know.
well done.
We'll have a meeting about that next week. That's a good question.
Yeah. I can't promise 20-year-old loot, but we do have a lot of really cool stuff planned for the anniversary event.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, actually, these guys came up with. They're like, oh, we really want to do a legendary gem. Would it be crazy if you socket it into your helmet? I'm like, hell no. I just want to cram the soulstone right in my face. So you get a legendary helm gem where periodically, like, your guy struggles for control of the demon within and then explodes in fire. So we've got a lot of really cool throwback items. They're not 20-year-old loot, though.
The great thing, though, about the Darkening of Tristram is that you can go back and get that loot that you missed 20 years ago.
Right on, that's what I want.
All right. I played the Necromancer as my main for literally like 12 years now, so it's great to see it come back. It's really good. I was wondering if you guys could do anything towards bringing Bone Wand as the main weapon, because it feels more at home than a scythe sickle type weapon.
That's interesting. I don't think we're going to go with that as the main weapon, but it is super iconic. I could certainly see us doing some kind of like Bone Wand legendary weapon for Necros.
Or even part of a set, possibly, if there's.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So there's a bunch of options.
Yeah. What'd you think of the Necro?
I really enjoyed it. It great nostalgic feel. It was a lot of fun, and everything exploded.
Yes, it did.
One tiny gripe was corpse explosion. It used to do percentile damage based on that. That can't really happen anymore. It'd be really imbalanced with scaling. But I feel corpse explosion was the one spell that didn't quite pop. It visually does, but not damage.
That's totally fair. So we've done tons of like internal playtesting. That's actually probably my fault. So the first pass of the BlizzCon build we had, they had like infinity shadow vermin swarming you. And I was like, no one's going to push anything but corpse explosion. Can we tone down the density? So they did. But your experience with corpse explosion is going to vary wildly depending on what types of monsters you're fighting and the environment you're in. Hopefully, when you do get swarmed by a bunch of shadow vermin, you'll just get to giddily explode everything in the universe. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I saw in your challenge rift video that the optimized strategy became to just skip all white monsters and fight only elites and rares. And I was wondering if that is like indicative of that's what you're happy with for the strategy for Greater Rifts being, or if you have any plans to do something else.
I think it actually depends on the build. So in that particular video, if you're playing a Chicken Doctor, Eric Hears, then that with Manajumas, and that is the best way to run that particular build. But there's other builds that are focused on killing the non-elite monsters as well. And I think that's one of the really neat things about Challenge Rifts is since it's actually a community-pulled build, the optimal strategy changes based on what it's going to be. I mean, it might be elites in one case, but it might not on another one.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, how's it going, guys? I have a question about legendary item powers. I see a lot of the legendaries that you're coming up with are focused on bridging the gap between skills and making them less lackluster, maybe more damaging, more exciting. So do you have any plans for legendary affixes like Corrupted Ashbringer, where they're really powerful, they're really awesome, but maybe not cubable, so that more classes could use them, but they're still really cool, basically?
I'm sorry, maybe not whatable?
Not
cubable.
Not cubable.
Cubable, got it,
yeah.
Sorry. No, I think the cube is a really integral feature to just how your character development works at this point. I don't think there's any talks about making things not cubable. Really, when we're coming up with legendaries, it's partly, what skills aren't getting a ton of use or what sets or play styles have kind of fallen behind. Sometimes it's just what do we think would be cool, like with the Lightning Wizard. It's always our goal to sort of keep introducing just cool stuff. And a lot of the time, we just want to make something because, I don't know, it just seems neat. And hopefully people will find a cool use for this. Frequently, when we add items, if the play styles that we added them for aren't like suddenly getting more play, we'll just keep adding more items until it gets there.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Hi guys. Oh, that's really loud. I played the Necromancer. I really like it. I'm happy with where it's going, and I had played the first 2 games and loved those games. I'm curious, who else was on the chopping block as far as potential characters you were wanting to put back into the game?
So you're asking what other classes were under consideration?
Right.
What was that?
Back to the drawing board,
Probably
Kevin.
made the short list, yeah. No, I mean, we have ideas for brand new classes that have never been done in Diablo. There's other fan favorites like Druid or something Shapeshifter was certainly a very popular thing around the office, Amazon, etc. So yeah, I mean, all the ones you expect are on the list, obviously. So and some ones you guys have never heard of. But Necromancer, I think we're feeling nostalgic and grim at the same time. Maybe it's because Halloween's so close. I don't know. The Necro seemed like the right guy for this year, and so that's the one we took.
And then just really quick, I know you guys can't dive into this too much, but so you guys were mentioning Sanctuary is this awesome world. You guys have tons of areas to explore. You guys were mentioning how the anniversary event is this yearly thing. Is there you guys wanting to keep that trend where there's new kind of content you come out only for a short amount of time, or will there be more permanent things that you guys are very interested in doing for the world of Diablo?
We tend to lean towards more permanent elements that are just there and you can play them, and maybe they're unlockable sometimes. Like Kunai's Cube, you had to unlock by exploring the ruins of Secheron, which was something of an experiment for us. But the anniversary event is our first annual event, and we'll see how that goes. And if we have good ideas that are fun and that it's important that they're not always available. Sorry. Second. Sorry.
Kunai's throne room.
Right. Then if having it be less frequent makes it better, we'll do that. Like, again, using Halloween, that's my favorite holiday, and if I could dress up and give out candy every day, it wouldn't be as cool. So that's sort of the approach to the anniversary thing. That said, we tried to make it last for a long time, so it'll be a whole month, so everybody, regardless of hopefully whatever's happening in their life, will have a chance to play it during that time once a year.
I'd also like to add, the Challenge Rift stuff does a good amount of that, where a certain build will come up in a week with a very specific layout, and we will never see that exact same rift again. It's going to keep cycling those out, and it's been really interesting for the team because, as I said, we've gotten really like our hearts set like, oh, I remember that whole build, and I remember that whole like finding the right pylon, and it was really cool. So we're super curious and see what you guys think of that feature as something that feels like exclusive time content.
Well, that Wonder Woman movie's coming out, and then there's the Scovos Islands, so maybe we can have, like, you know, theme going on there. Just an idea. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Every season I love playing my Witch Doctor, and I think all the sets are really cool right now, but with the Gargantuans and the dogs, I find that the AI could be kind of strange sometimes, especially, like, maybe you're pushing high grader rifts, like 80+, and 2 of your Gargantuans want to go and fight trash while you're trying to tank an elite. Do you guys have any plans to improve on the AI of those pets? Maybe make it easier to target certain monsters?
You should play the Necro. Joe can talk about AI.
Yeah, we do actually look at the AI for class pets. In some ways, they work similar to the AI for monsters, but of course, they're controlled by you, so they have additional restrictions. Yeah, that's something that we go back and look at periodically. So we'll look at it.
And one more quick question. With new big patches coming up, when you guys are doing balancing and tuning, are there any plans to change the Legacy of Nightmares set to bring it up to par with the other competitive sets?
I don't know if I would say that the Legacy of Nightmares set is behind. I think Legacy of Nightmares is a set that, I mean, it's constantly changing inherently by nature of new legendaries being added to the game. I think there's also always the possibility that there are new undiscovered builds, new interactions to be found. I mean, I think, for example, the Shimizu's Heori with the Fortress Ballista is an interaction that wasn't discovered, you know, the day after Legacy of Nightmares came out. It took It took a while, and I think we're pretty happy with where Legacy of Nightmares is. I sort of think of it as like a constantly changing fifth set that every class has access to.
All right, we are almost out of time. Let's do lightning questions with lightning answers real quick before we have to shut this down.
So in the video you had explained just briefly on the armory system. I wanted to know, are the items that were going to be extra sets in the armory system, do they have to stay in our stash or in our inventory, or are they going to be blank, just staying in that armory?
The armory doesn't hold anything. Your items are still held in your stash. There's an option to decide whether it goes to your inventory or your stash when you do a swap.
All right, one more question, I think. Sorry. Lightning round, lightning round.
Yes,
answer.
no, yes,
Hi, guys.
yes, maybe no.
Hi guys. I really love playing Diablo on PC, and sometimes it hurts my wrists. Are you ever going to support controllers on the PC or Mac?
No plans for that.
Go, go, go.
Hello, first off, thank you for the Necromancer. Very happy with that. Have you guys ever decided about making like a time trial boss fight where you go through like a bunch of the Greater Rift boss and then maybe have like Diablo as a point where you hit him and then you move on and you just go like boss, 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 and you can like raise up the difficulty?
Maybe.
Yeah, we actually have, that idea has come up. Yeah, interesting idea.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, I'm afraid we are out of time. Thank you again so much. I really do hope you enjoy the Necromancer and all these changes next week in the anniversary events. I look forward to seeing a few more of you on the floor, and see you in Sanctuary.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for attending Diablo 3 Dev Talk and Q&A. Up next, from the arena, the StarCraft II WCS Global Finals.